You are now watching the Amazin Mets Pregame Show with your hosts, Rob and CP.
Let's go Mets! Let's go Mets! Let's go Mets! Let's go Mets!
What's up, Mets fans? Welcome back to the Amazin Mets Pregame Show with myself and CP right here on both of our channels, guys. Hopefully everybody is enjoying their Friday and ready for some Mets baseball in about 40 minutes, or about 25, 30 minutes or so. But first, before we even talk about the Mets, let's congrats the New York Knicks on beating the 76ers, head into the next round to face the Pacers. A good old rivalry, hopefully renewed in the next round. Chris, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing well, flying high off of an electric comeback win for the Mets yesterday. The New York Knicks took care of business in Game 6. Couldn't be happier, couldn't be prouder of both teams. Great time, great vibes, and glad to have you back as well, Rob.
Yeah, I do apologize for that. New workplace and all that fun stuff. Can't really dictate what I really want to do sometimes, but it is what it is. But I know you held it down perfectly for your channel and even for the pregame as well. So I do appreciate that. All right, so the Mets had a great victory yesterday. Francisco Lindor came through in extra innings, getting the 2 RBIs needed to win the ball game. It wasn't looking good. I mean, ton of men left on base yet again with this Mets team, but they found a way to salvage another series. And look, we're not going to, get excited about winning one game out of a 3-game or 4-game, winning actually that last game to make sure that we wouldn't embarrass ourselves at home once again. Salvaging series keeps you around that 500 mark and, keeps your head above water for when you might go on a winning streak, maybe a 5 out of 7, 6 out of 8, something like that, Chris. And I feel it's so important to win those type of games because it shows the fight that we talked about when they went on that 15-game stretch a couple of weeks ago where this team got back to where they needed to be. And thinking that this team is actually a lot better than what people are giving them credit for. But I really want to talk about Carlos Mendoza before we get deeper into the game yesterday. I think he's a really good manager. You saw the emotion once again when the Mets won the game out of the dugout. I love that from a manager, and the players feed off of that. So I want to get your feeling about Carlos Mendoza and the team in general. That they didn't have a great homestand by any means, but winning that game before they go on the road as they play Tampa today. How are you feeling about Carlos Mendoza and what the Mets vibe that they're giving you right now? How do you feel about them right now?
I could tell you my vibe right now is completely 180 than my vibe before Francisco Lindor entered that ball game yesterday. I'll tell you that much because listen, it was a heartbreaking loss, 1-0 the night before. We all know that play, the no call on the obstruction. Pete Alonso was presumably safe, but they can't uphold that via replay because you can't actually physically see his hand touching. Listen, if you want to get into that, we can. But moving forward, how did they answer in the first half of the ball game the day after such a heartbreaking loss? Listen, Francisco Lindor wasn't in the starting lineup. JD Martinez wasn't in the starting lineup, and it was looking sparse. I said it on the pregame before the game. And to top it all off with the cherry on top, we had Mr. Adrian Hauser, a guy that's given up 5 earned runs or more in 3 of his first 5 starts. And he didn't have a good start by any stretch of the imagination either in this last outing. I believe giving up 4 earned runs, if I'm not mistaken. I have to go back and check the box score, but he just didn't look good. He didn't look sharp. And his spot in the rotation certainly is in question moving forward. But the resiliency, like you said, the energy from Carlos Mendoza, not only after the win or after Marte got that sort of throw him out at the plate to sort of force extra innings or go into the 9th inning, still tied 5-5. I love that energy. But also on the flip side of it, when the Mets got hosed by the replay system, when they got hosed by the home plate umpire the night before in the 1-0 loss, Carlos Mendoza made it a point to go out there not only to argue, and I'm not saying argue just for argue's sake, right? That's not really productive. But you had a point there, and the team had a point. Like, that was a missed call. So just show energy and stand behind your guys and just make the league aware right? The front office, the league front office, aware that you are not going to tolerate this any further. And then he goes into the post-game press conferences and references 3 separate plays that were called for obstruction that were the same exact plays, and this one wasn't called. So Carlos Mendoza really is making do. 16, like, listen, this team being 16-15 with everything that's happened in these first 31 games, to me, I'm gonna take that all day, every day. And I know that's like a homerish take, but really, when you look at it, with all the things that didn't go the Mets' way, with all the injuries, not having JD Martinez starting off with the team, I'm going to take 16-15 all day long. And Carlos Mendoza, a first-year manager, has had to deal with so much adversity in these first 31 games. And quite simple, like, I think he's handled it perfectly. He's utilized everyone that has been at his disposal. Some guys have made him look like a genius. Like yesterday when he put in Lindor, some guys made him look like a fool, like Joey Wendell in the defensive substitution. But at the end of the day, Carlos Mendoza is not out there controlling Joey Wendell like a puppet at third base or shortstop, making these errors left and right. So I like what I see from Carlos Mendoza, and I think that he has all the makings of the leadership aspect to manage this team moving forward into a wild card spot, which the Mets are still only a half game out. And before this series, actually, after the heartbreaking 3-1 loss that we did an in-game live stream for, at that point I was like, listen, the Cubs are a great team. They're a pesky team. They're an annoying team, and they're a good team. And I just wanted the split. I wanted the series split. And that's exactly what we got. So, Rob, going into Tampa, I can't be mad whatsoever. And I love Carlos Mendoza as a manager. He's been showing me a lot.
Yeah, 100%. And it's really interesting to me because, like, you brought up a great point. Like, we got hosed with that call, and it's not that we were going to win the case, and even if you protest the game, they weren't going to change the outcome of the game or let us play with a tie game. It was the fact that the players saw that Carlos Mendoza had their back. Not only that, he knew the rule. He knew that there was outcomes based on the rule that didn't go our way based on similar outcomes of other games. And that's important to realize as well, is that he has a feel for the game. And he knows the rules, and he was pissed about it. And you know what? He really couldn't argue with the umpire right there, even though I think the umpire should have called him safe, and he was in a bad position to make a call. But to have Mendoza go out there and argue for his players, that means something to the players. And I think that's important to realize. But you know what? Just in general, with the adversity you talked about is very interesting as well, because, no Kodai Senga the entire season. JD Martinez just came back. Really haven't hit his stride yet. Lindor still hasn't, really done much except for, the last couple of games. And that was even with the flu game. And, as we're calling it, people are talking about MJ, which is interesting as well. But it's just, there's so much adversity with this team right now. Hauser is basically a no-show right now, who, we're bringing up one of our top prospects because he's not performing. And all those things are going wrong, yet the first 31 games, the New York Mets are 16-15. And it's great to see, because it shows you that this team is not just keeping their head above water, as I said earlier, but they're fighting. And we could have said this 100 times last year, that this team never had fight. Well, this team has fight. They seem like they get along. They seem like they're good teammates. They're picking each other up when they need to. And let's not continue to not talk, even though you just brought him up. Starlin Marte, like, he is such a big player for this team, and the importance of Starlin Marte is obvious once again. He wasn't available mostly at all last year, and it really did affect the team. And you saw what he did in 2022, and what he's doing in 2024 is a huge deal. And I think that, I don't want to say we're overlooking it, but there's a lot of people that are overlooking him, not just the throws, but just that he's healthy, better at bats. He provides good defense in the outfield as well. And I think it just helps the overall team when you got a guy like Starlin Marte, who knows how to play the game of baseball and one of the veterans of the team. So I love it right now. I can't wait for this game tonight. There's going to be a ton of Met fans there. It's going to be, Citi Field South at Tropicana Field, and it's going to be a lot of fun, Chris. The lineup tonight, we can speak on that. I love this lineup. I really like this lineup. The length of this lineup. I mean, you got Tyrone Taylor batting 7th, and even Beatty batting 8th, and then you got Tomas Nido. What do you think about the lineup right now?
I love this lineup as well. This is like top personnel right here, and this is exactly what I've been calling for. Let Tyrone Taylor play. You need his bat. I'd still rather switch Tyrone Taylor and Jeff McNeil because honestly, we need to have a conversation surrounding Jeff McNeil and his inability to bring that run home and Pete Alonso home after having several good pitches to hit in that at bat. And I'd like him more in that 7 spot because he seems a lot more comfortable there, especially when runners come up in scoring position. I'd rather just see a bat like Tyrone Taylor there. But nonetheless, that's a minor gripe in terms of that flip flop placement. But the rest of it, is A1. I love it, to be honest with you. There's nothing else that Carlos Mendoza can do in terms of trotting out the personnel. Now it's up to this personnel and these guys in this lineup to produce, right?
Yeah.
It's up to them. And that's what's the bottom line. Like we've been seeing so at bats recently. Pete Alonso is a guy that I know you're always on, Rob, and he has not been producing good at bats at all. And I love Pete Alonso. We'll always support him. But dude, you gotta hit the pitch that we know you can hit. He's missing fastballs middle that he usually crushes. It's bad at bats and it's a bad process. So listen, all that being aside, not to turn this into a negative stream, but the offense, there's a lot still left to be desired. And I really want to see that turn around in Tampa Bay. Now, I'm not sure if it's really a friendly hitter's ballpark. It's a certainly unusual ballpark being inside with that turf that plays really weirdly, especially for the infielders with the big bounces and the big hops. But you know what? Just get the job done. Today's a new day. It's a new series. What do we always say? Game 1 started off with a bang. And I think that Carlos Mendoza, by trotting out this lineup and not messing around, he really wants to just put the pedal to the metal and take advantage of this game 1. And listen, this should be a fun series all in all. You said the Citi Field South, like we always say for MSG South, for Knicks fans, always taking over opposing stadiums. This is awesome. And the vibes are going to be immaculate, not only tonight, but tomorrow as well, because we got a new face joining the team, and it's going to be awesome. So I'm really excited for this weekend and for this series, man.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't want to bring the negativity into the stream right now because it was a nice win yesterday before we went on the road. But yeah, Pete Alonso, it's starting to. You have to be worried about this because the home runs are there, but the RBIs are not. And it's not like Alonso hasn't been getting opportunities with runners on base. People like, it's the guy's not getting on base in front of him. That's why he doesn't have a lot of RBIs. His home run total is right where you need it to be, but it's the big hits that are concerning, right? We know Pete Alonso can, hit a mistake and put it 450 feet over the wall. It's when situations like numerous times over, I think what was it, 0 for 16, 0 for 17 stretch where he had, I believe it was 9 base runners on base in those 16 at-bats, and he's got 1 opportunity, 1 RBI in that situation, and it's a real problem. And he is your big RBI guy. And yes, you talk about Lindor. Yes, you got to talk about JD Martinez as well. Jeff McNeil is non-existent. I would change Taylor to McNeil in the lineup. But yeah, I mean, the good thing is other guys are getting it done. And hopefully it's just a matter of time before Pete Alonso goes off, which we know he can. Is it the pressure of the contract? Because every year he ends up having the numbers at the end of the year. You worry that the pressure of the contract, it might be getting to him. We saw it with Michael Conforto. You just hope Pete Alonso doesn't have that same, I guess, mentality when it comes to a contract year. I mean, because it's just going to hurt the Mets. How the Mets are 500 with all the adversity, with Alonso really not being that good, and a lot of like I said, this team is at 1 game above 500 because of the supporting cast. It's not because of the stars of this team. Let's completely be honest about that. And I've talked about this core many, many times. If it wasn't for the supporting cast, this team would we have 10 wins right now? The way our core has been playing? Absolutely not. And I do think that it's something to be aware of, even though I'm still excited about this team, because if the core does start picking it up and the supporting cast does what the supporting cast has been doing, this team is more than just a couple of games over 500 team. I think they're actually a little bit better than that. I would say 5, 6, 7 games over 500. I think they can be that because the pitching has still been there for the most part. Look, when we were going on that 12 out of 15 stretch, we were scoring 6.5 runs per game. When you're scoring 2.5 runs per game, I don't care if you have Tom Seaver out there, you're not going to win ball games. And the pitcher has been outstanding. Sevy, Quintana, Manaea, everybody has just been outstanding. And then we got our quote unquote ace today in Jose Quintana. And, I like Jose Quintana because he can provide you with the outing that he did, the last time out, right? It didn't be successful as an overall team, but to get starts like that, that's what Jose Quintana does, right? He'll give you that start sporadically, but it's there. He'll always give you a chance to win. And I'm so happy starting the road trip with our main starters going in this series. And we're going to talk about our top prospect, Christian Scott. We're talking about him on pitching tomorrow, which is very unique, actually. And it came out of nowhere. Like, I know everybody was checking with their Twitter feed or X feed, and everybody's like, oh, wow, that came out of nowhere. And you know what? I was wrong. I talked about this on the roundtable. I didn't think Stearns was going to do this early, especially for a guy like Adrian Hauser, who he knows very, very well with the Brewers. And surprising, that, Hauser's not doing the job. It's next man up. And I appreciate that from Stearns for a guy that he knows for a very long time in the Brewers system. So what do you think about Christian Scott getting called up in May? Now, do you think this is long-term, or do you think this is because of the stretch of no days off that they're going to a 6-man just to give pitchers an extra day off? What do you think?
Yeah, I think the whole conversation was surrounding long-term versus short-term move here with Christian Scott. I want to say it's probably short-term, lengthening out the rotation, especially Luis Severino. But listen, if Christian Scott comes up here and he pitches a gem, and tomorrow is a game that's on national television. It's on Fox, I believe, which is the best part about it. So it's on national television. You got a rookie, MLB top 100 pipeline prospect, has a great arsenal, electric fastball, 96, 97. It's fantastic. It's fantastic for the game, and I really want it to be long-term. So I think Hector was talking about it with us as well, and he made a great comparison. He needs to pitch like Jose Butto has pitched to make himself stay in this rotation. That's a great comparison. And honestly, with the way Adrian Hauser's pitching right now, if Christian Scott comes up here and lights it up, David Stearns is going to have a very hard time just with the image of it, just like how the optics look, to send Christian Scott back down and keep Adrian Hauser in this rotation. Now, I understand there's other options at play, right? You got Joey Lucchesi. He can be that longer-term option until Christian Scott is actually ready. But why not give this kid a chance, man? If he goes out there and produces and has a solid game, you're talking about maybe, I don't know how far he's going to go. Maybe he pitches 5 innings, gives up 2 runs. I take that all day long. Maybe he throws in 5, 6, 7 strikeouts. He has the put-away pitches. It would be hard-pressed for me as a fan and for David Stearns as the president of baseball operations to try to sell you on bringing him back down to AAA with the way Adrian Hauser is looking right now. So, honestly, I want to say objectively, this is probably a short-term move just for the rest and the stretch of games coming up. But Christian Scott, in my mind, really has an opportunity to make and force David Stearns' hand into making this a longer-term move. And honestly, I hope he grasps this opportunity by the horns and never looks back. I really do. I'm rooting for this kid 100%. Because really, when you look at a pitching staff like the Atlanta Braves, who in recent years, right, years prior, have had great prospects on the pitching side come up. The Mets have been lacking that for a little bit now, right? We know Kodai Senga was a 30-year-old rookie coming in, and he did phenomenal in his rookie season. But Christian Scott is a 24-year-old prospect, a 25-year-old prospect, excuse me, that has a chance to be a staple of this rotation for many years to come. And how special would it be if the start of that is tomorrow night? That'd be so special. I'm rooting for
Yeah,
it.
absolutely. And our boy Hector from the roundtable did say Mendoza Hauser's going to the pen this time through the rotation. So this is what is already talking about. Hector, what's up, buddy? How you doing? You know, this is what Stern's telling you. Christian Scott got the opportunity now, like Jose Buto. Even though Jose Buto had a little experience in the big leagues, pitching a couple of games here and there, but he's giving Christian Scott an opportunity to keep this spot in the rotation. You know, probably until Kodai Senga comes back. But you know what? Do what Jose Buto did, right? Make it impossible for David Stearns and company to send you back down, right? If you pitch good, look, they're going to limit his pitch count, like 75 pitches probably his first time out, maybe 70 pitches. Maybe they'll increase it in his next start or two to 80-something pitches, but they're not going to go beyond that, regardless of how he's pitching. Show that you belong, because if you belong, Stearns has already proven if you produce, regardless of you're a rookie, veteran, bench player, you're going to get your opportunity. And I love that about an organization that gives opportunities to not just a prospect or a veteran, but everybody that gets an opportunity. If you perform, you're in the lineup. Tyron Taylor was supposed to be our bench player. He's playing a lot more than anybody could have anticipated. Same thing, goes for Christian Scott. If you perform, you will find your way into this rotation. If Senga comes back, you know what? Great. Use the 6-man rotation. It's not going to really hurt your bullpen to put Hauser as your long man in the bullpen, and go with the 6-man rotation. You got to limit the innings for Senga when he comes back anyway. Go to a 6-man. Give Severino, who is prone to have injuries in the past, give him an extra day here and there. Sean Manaea, same thing. You know, you don't want to break down these guys. They pitch well, but it's only been a month. So we definitely got to make sure that we keep this rotation healthy. And why not give Christian Scott an opportunity, even if it is short term until Senga comes back, the opportunity to show what he can do at the big league level. And you know what? It's great to see Christian Scott pitching tomorrow, national TV. The 7 line is going to be there on Saturday, as well as I think it's over 1,000 fans there. I mean, we know the Met fans are going to be there. It is Florida, but the 7 line is going to be there as well. So they're going to be supporting Rockin' in left center. I think they're in left field for the game on tomorrow as well. So it's going to be a lot of fun. So I want to get your thoughts on this series, because I think it's a really important series. The Rays are 4 games under 500. They're not playing particularly well. They're not as good as they used to be right now. The Mets got to take advantage. Win a series. You talk about win game 1. You win game 1, you got 2 opportunities to win the series, and this is what this team's got to do. Win series, get on the plane, go to the next city, and then take another series. So what is your overall take of this series? What do the Mets got to do besides just, showing up and obviously performing in all aspects? What do you think is the main keys to this series to get out of Tampa with a series victory?
With runners in scoring position. I mean, that's it, right? That's really it. I mean, I'm not worried about any other facet of this team other than how this team hits with runners in scoring position. I don't care about the bullpen. They've been lights out. I know that we've had some unfortunate news with the Brooks Raley situation. He's going to be out for a little bit longer than the Mets had anticipated. Some pretty not good news there. But even without Brooks Raley, wish him a speedy recovery. But this pen is performing on all cylinders. The rotation has been a pleasant surprise, Rob. They've outperformed what I had slated them as, right? Manaea's outperformed. Severino's outperformed. Quintana, I kind of expected the consistency with him, but he's been pretty solid, right? Who am I missing? Who am I missing in this rotation? Severino, Manaea.
Yeah. Quintana.
Quintana.
We're forgetting somebody.
Yeah, we're forgetting somebody, and it's like
throw him in there as well.
Help me out. Anyways, you know what? You get the gist of what I'm trying to say. They are performing really freaking well right now. And Buto, thank you, Daniel. I don't know why I forgot Buto, but I'm the biggest Buto supporter, and I forgot him in the rotation. I mean, can you believe that? Yeah, it's been one of those days for me. But happy Friday, by the way. We're not thinking about that. Yeah, no, this pitching has been absolutely phenomenal. Really. I've been so impressed with them. The longevity of the games, right? It's starting to come around a little bit recently, but I wasn't even complaining back then when they weren't producing 6 innings. Oh, I said, give me 5 innings. The bullpen will take care of the rest. Keep it respectable within those 5 innings, and that's all I ask from you. I said the cherry on top is going to be 6 innings, 7 innings, maybe even 8 innings, like we've seen from Quintana and Luis Severino recently. But listen, man, really happy with this team. I think the keys to victory really is this offense. We talk about the lineup. We love this lineup. The lineup on paper right now is as perfect as it's going to get. Now it's up to these guys. It's up to Pete Alonso to figure out better at bats and look and swing. Like, he's swinging at good pitches. He's swinging at good pitches, minus one of the strikeouts that he had yesterday that was absolutely awful. But like, I like his pitch selection. He's just missing it. And he's just missing it, fouling it back where he should be putting that ball over the fence. I'm not really sure what's wrong mechanically, but he's missing pitches. Jeff McNeil, same thing. When you have a runner in scoring position, Jeff McNeil, especially on third base with less than 2 outs, how about we try to get a little more lift on the ball and try to get a little bit deeper in the outfield? I mean, I know it's really easy for me to say behind a screen, but if you're considered part of this core, and Jeff McNeil, you're on a brand spanking new deal, a 4-year extension that you got a couple of seasons ago, you got to do the little things.
Yep.
If you are a part of this core in this lineup, you have to do the little things.
Yeah.
And the big things.
Yep.
Because this team relies on you. But especially the little things. And to me, this is the difference. The little things are the difference from the Mets being 16-15 right now versus maybe like 20-11.
Yeah.
Or 21-10.
Absolutely.
I can count on like one hand probably 5 games that the Mets could have easily won if they had done a couple of the little things more often than not and succeeded in them. But you know what? It's a game of failure. We can't look in the rear view. We got to look at what's ahead of us. And that's a great opportunity to, I don't want to call the Rays subpar, although I really do think that they just don't have it this year. I don't know. They've gotten off to a slow start. They look a little mediocre. The starting rotation that they got going this series has been okay. It's been pretty good. But I don't know. Something's just lacking with that team. And I'm not going to sit up here and tell you that I've watched like the utmost of Rays baseball this season. I haven't. But this is a winnable series. Like, just like that Cubs series was winnable, right? Yeah. Can you tell me a team that the Mets have played this season that you look at the matchup and you look at the performance and you're like, yeah, that team is just better than the Mets, man. That team is just better than the Mets. I'll tell you what, I haven't seen one. The Dodgers, yeah, sure, they're probably better than the Mets, even though the Mets took the series. I understand that. But we talk about the teams that are direct competition for the Mets in the wild card standings. The Reds. Like, the Mets aren't better than the Reds. The Cubs. Yeah. Come on, man. Come on, Rob. So do you get where I'm going with this? I know this is sort of a answer to your question, and this is more so going back to like my overall thoughts on this team. But when I say the statement of this is just the tip of the iceberg into what we really have as a team here, and we really haven't unleashed and unlocked the full potential of this team, that's what I'm talking about. So go out there, win game 1, and let's win us a series. That's what I got.
Absolutely. And you're 100% right. Besides the first 2 series of the year, the Mets had opportunities to win every series. They were in every game, almost every game that you can say, wow, if they would have scored in the 9th inning, they would have won that game. You could have been, you're right. You could have been 20-11, 19-12 or something like, something crazy, simple like that, just based on a couple of games where you didn't hit with runners in scoring position or get the run home in a game-winning situation where we didn't get it done. The fact of the matter is, they can actually be a lot better than what their record says right now. And it's a little frustrating, but it's also a sign of hope that we can have for this team because it only takes a hit, one hit, a Jeff McNeil hitting that ball a little bit farther. We might win that game and we might be 2 games over 500. Maybe we take the series. It's some little things, like you said, that can change everything and outcome of a game and multiple games where I think we could have won. But yeah, you're right about that. You know, are the Cubs that much better than the Mets? I would say sure, but they made a ton of mistakes as well. We just didn't capitalize on their mistakes. They capitalized on our mistakes.
They didn't. Yes.
Yeah, you know, and they gave us a ton of opportunities. We just didn't come through in a lot of those opportunities. Yeah, and look, all this says, as I keep on saying, the Mets have a chance to be a wild card team because we're a half a game out of the third wild card spot. That's all we have to be, right around that area. Look at all the teams that everybody believes that are better than us. They're sub under 500. And we keep on saying it, but it's a month in now. We're heading to the point where, you know, Stearns' evaluation first of the season, which is a 45-game stretch. And when he evaluates, we're going to see a lot more changes. He's already doing it with Christian Scott. He already did it with Jose Buto. There's going to be other changes. You know, look at Danny Young coming in as well. You know, a couple of other bullpen arms that he just throws in. The other depth that half the people we didn't even know we're in this without minor league depth. Everybody has a part in this team. The big guys need to step up because the supporting cast held you down for the first 31 games. Let's get it going. I want to see McNeil, Alonso, Lindor, Nimmo take control of a series and win a series based on them. I don't want to hear about DJ Stewart or Taylor or Beatty. You know, that'd be great. But they've been the ones doing it. Let me see the core take control of baseball games. That's what we're paying you for. And that's what the contract says we should give Pete Alonso, but you have to take control of games. Put this team on your back. The supporting cast is only going to take you so far. This core is going to take us further. I want to see it from them. So let's get victories. Let's get series wins in Tampa and then head to the next series. So, Chris, final thoughts. And by the way, I'm so happy about the Knicks. You don't even know. Like I just had to say that again. On my TV again. I was just really going crazy.
Love it. Check out the Knicks post game if you guys missed it last night. We did a little bit of an impromptu live after the game. Mez is sitting here in the chat asking about Pete Alonso switching places. I think is what you're asking from the 4 to the 5 spot, Mez. I like that. I would do that for sure. I get where you're going with that. I just don't think it's going to happen. But if I were to manipulate this lineup in a reconstructive manner, 3 to 5, what I would do instead is just flip flop. I would move Pete to the 3 hole. Then I'd have I'd go Pete 3, Martinez 4, and then Lindor 5. I know it's never going to happen, but that's just my personal opinion. But yes, if it came down to just flip-flopping them, sure, I would try that as well, just to see what happens. Like, there's no harm, no foul. I just don't think the Mets are going to do that. But nonetheless, final thoughts. Here it is. Go Knicks. Let's win a baseball game tonight. Let's go Mets. That's all I got.
Absolutely. The game's about to start, guys. So another Amazin Mets pregame show in the books. Let's go Mets tonight. Jose Quintana, Aaron Savali on the mound. Core guys, do your job. The Mets are road warriors right now. They find a way to score runs on the road. Let's keep it going, guys. We'll see you next time, guys. Have a great night. Let's go Mets, Chris. Have a great night, buddy.